Walking. Throughout our lives, it becomes such a natural act that we often realize its value only when it's gone. But after the age of 60, walking is no longer just a form of movement. It becomes medicine for the brain. Sadly, as we age, many people slowly let go of this simple yet vital habit. One morning you say, "I'll skip today." Then a week passes, then a month. And without realizing it, you've silenced one of the brain's most essential sources of nourishment. Because walking doesn't just move the legs. It activates the brain. When you walk, more blood flows to the brain, meaning more oxygen and nutrients. Memory centers are stimulated, focus improves, and decision-making becomes sharper. Walking also lowers stress hormones and boosts the production of feel-good chemicals like endorphins and serotonin. But when you stop walking, all of this begins to fade. Quietly, gradually, invisibly. No pain, no alarm. But one morning you find yourself more forgetful. One afternoon you struggle to find the right words. One evening you feel more fragile, more unsettled deep inside. And it doesn't surprise you. You think, "I'm just getting old." But this has nothing to do with aging. This is the loss of movement. This is the brain being deprived of the signals it used to thrive on. In a 2022 study by Harvard University, researchers found that adults over 65 who walked for at least 20 minutes a day had cognitive functions that were 35% stronger than those who didn't walk. And this isn't just about numbers, it's about remembering longer, thinking more clearly, feeling calmer. The good news? You can reverse this. With each step, you send your brain a new message. I'm still here, I'm still active, I'm still open to learning. In this video, we'll walk through what happens to your brain when you stop walking. 5 effects that could be quietly shaping your mental health, your quality of life, your relationships, and your emotional strength. If you're ready, let's begin. Because after this video, you might just start walking, not for your legs, but for your brain. 1. Reduced blood flow to the brain. When oxygen drops, the mind slows down. The human brain makes up only about 2% of the body's total weight. Yet it consumes 20% of the oxygen we take in throughout the day, because the brain depends entirely on oxygen to function. And the biggest carrier of this oxygen? Blood circulation. When we walk, our heart rate increases. This acceleration means more blood and oxygen are sent not only to our muscles, but also to the millions of neurons in our brain. This enhances mental clarity, extends attention span, and sharpens our thinking. But when we stop walking, this system slows down. And over time, the brain is gradually pulled into an oxygen-deprived fog. This doesn't happen suddenly. One morning you might feel a little more forgetful. You struggle to find the right words in conversation. It becomes harder to focus or make decisions. But you blame it on aging, when in fact what's really missing is movement. After age 60, blood flow to the brain naturally declines. Vessels become less elastic, the heart's pumping power weakens, and artery walls begin to narrow. That's why at this stage of life, walking becomes not just a lifestyle choice, but an investment in brain health. There's a compelling study that illustrates this. The University of British Columbia conducted research with individuals aged 60 to 80. One group walked for 30 minutes daily. The other remained inactive. After 6 months, the walking group showed an increase in hippocampus volume, while the sedentary group's hippocampus began to shrink. The hippocampus is the brain's center for learning and memory. What does this mean? Walking, more blood flow, more oxygen, more active neurons, stronger memory and cognitive ability. Not walking quietly unravels this chain. Let's look at a real-life example. Heinrich is a 72-year-old retired railway worker living in northern Germany. He led an active life. In the early years of retirement, he and his wife went on morning walks together. But after she passed away, his spirits dropped. So did his routines. His walks became infrequent and eventually stopped altogether. At first, he just felt tired, but gradually he had trouble gathering his thoughts. He struggled to find words, forgot people's names. Sometimes he'd go to the store and forget what he needed, or stand confused in front of the fridge. When he saw a doctor, there was no structural illness. But the doctor said something very clear. Your brain is experiencing a lack of movement. The most natural way to wake it up is by walking. Heinrich started walking again. The first week, just 10 minutes a day, then 20, then 30. Within weeks, he felt his mental clarity returning. Now, he walks every morning. "When I walk, I'm not just waking my body, I'm waking my mind," he says. This reminds us of a crucial truth. The brain doesn't age because it's used, it ages because it isn't nourished. And its primary fuel is clean oxygen and strong circulation. Walking delivers fresh blood to the brain. That means brighter thoughts, clearer memories, and a sharper mind. Remember, when your heart works, your brain shines. The more you walk, the sharper your mind becomes. Every step says to your brain, "I'm still here." 2. Mental clarity fades. Memory, focus, and decision-making slowly decline. Mental clarity, the ability to follow a thought, remember a memory accurately, and stay in tune with your inner voice when making decisions. These are the cornerstones of our cognitive strength. And unfortunately, when that strength starts to fade, most of us don't notice right away because the mind drifts away quietly. Walking doesn't just engage your legs, it keeps your mind structured and active. With every step, multiple regions of the brain work in harmony. Especially the frontal cortex and hippocampus light up during walking. These are the areas responsible for memory, focus, decision-making, and emotional balance. But when you stop walking, the neural activity in these regions begins to slow. One day you forget your shopping list. Another day you leave food in the oven and forget about it. Names, words, appointments begin to vanish like a mist within your thoughts, and you try to find your way through that fog. There's a scientific explanation for this. Walking strengthens synaptic connections in the brain. This speeds up communication between neurons, allowing information to be processed faster and decisions to be made more clearly. But when walking stops, these signals weaken, and thinking begins to feel less like a flowing river and more like a still, stagnant pond. Research shows that older adults who walk at least 150 minutes a week experience a 30% lower risk of memory loss, a 25% higher ability to learn new information, fewer mistakes in daily decision-making tasks. Another reason? The natural boost in dopamine and serotonin. Walking triggers the brain to release these feel-good chemicals. Dopamine keeps you focused and productive. Serotonin sharpens your thoughts and stabilizes memory, but inactivity lowers these chemicals, and the mind becomes foggy, both chemically and structurally. Mental clarity doesn't just decline with age. It collapses when left unsupported. Many older adults begin to forget things and assume it's an unavoidable part of aging. But that's not always the case. Most of the time, it's the result of a mind that isn't being stimulated. And the simplest way to stimulate the brain is to walk. A walk doesn't just refresh the mind, it reorganizes the chain of thought. The clarity that comes from a morning walk, the stimulation from seeing the outside world, the awareness that rhythmic steps bring, these are small yet powerful tools for rebuilding the mind. Have you ever wondered, does not walking affect just today? No. Skipping a walk today lowers the quality of your thoughts tomorrow. Because a mind deprived of walking gradually becomes slower, forgetful, and indecisive. But here's the good news. This decline can be stopped and even reversed. Start with just 15 minutes a day. Use light-paced steps to wake your brain up. And make this a sustainable habit. Losing mental clarity is not destiny, but inactivity accelerates that outcome. And sometimes, all you need to do is put on your shoes and step outside. What about you? Have you been feeling more forgetful, indecisive, or mentally sluggish lately? Have you noticed changes in your mental state during periods when you didn't walk? Share your experiences in the comments. Your story might spark awareness in someone else. If this video offered you value, support us with a like. And subscribe to keep learning together, because a sharp mind is not just a gift of youth, it's a reward of movement. 3. Emotional balance disrupts. Stress, anxiety, and social withdrawal increase. Walking doesn't just move your muscles, it carries your emotions too. Each step you take moves more than just your body. It awakens your spirit. Being outside, breathing fresh air, seeing other people, gazing into the distance. These simple acts send quiet but powerful messages to your emotional system. I'm alive, I'm moving, I'm connected. But when you stop walking, those messages fade, and new, less welcome feelings begin to creep in. A sense of heaviness, unexplained anxiety, lingering fatigue. And slowly you begin to withdraw inward, because walking isn't just physical, it's a neurochemical event. While you walk, your brain releases serotonin, dopamine, and endorphins. These are the chemicals of calm, joy, and emotional balance. They give you peace, clarity, and comfort. But when movement decreases, their production drops. And without noticing, you become more tense, more restless, more reactive. Walking also nurtures invisible ties to the world around you. A wave to a neighbor, a glance at a flower, a moment of eye contact with a passing child. These fleeting moments spark real neurological responses. They remind your brain that you are part of a community. But when you stop walking, those micro-connections vanish. And you don't just become physically still. You become socially isolated. Let me share a story that captures this perfectly. Margaret, a 76-year-old retired nurse, used to walk every morning with her husband. For them, walking was more than exercise. It was a ritual of emotional bonding. But during the pandemic, their walks stopped. Soon after, her husband suffered a heart attack. In the weeks that followed, she stopped walking altogether. Mornings found her sitting quietly in her armchair, barely moving at all. Gradually, her conversations dwindled. She took longer to answer the phone. Her smile faded and the light in her eyes dimmed. Her family thought she had fallen into depression. But when her doctor asked, "When was the last time you went for a walk?" she had no answer. Following her doctor's advice, Margaret began walking again. At first, every step felt like a mountain. But after a few days, color returned to her face. Her eyes began to sparkle again. And after a few weeks, her children noticed she was reconnecting with the outside world. "I didn't just go outside," she said. "I came back to life inside." This story reminds us, walking isn't just for physical health. It's a pillar of emotional well-being. When you stop walking, stress hormones increase. Mood narrows due to lack of stimulation. Social ties weaken. Anxiety and depression risks climb. Inactivity can also damage self-confidence, because over time you may start thinking, "It's easier if I just stay in." And that's where withdrawal begins. And loneliness, perhaps the quietest but deadliest threat in old age, creeps in. So what can you do? Even just 10 minutes of walking a day can shift your mood. If you can't go outside, walk purposefully indoors. Walking with music can accelerate emotional healing. Walking with a friend boosts social connection and motivation. Remember, to walk is not just a step forward, it's to move closer to life again. 4. Sleep quality declines. The brain can't renew at night. Sleep, it's not just a break for the body at the end of the day, it's a vital healing space, especially for the brain. Because everything we learn, feel, and experience throughout the day is processed during sleep. Our memory, emotions, and decision-making, all of it is reorganized in the quiet of the night. But this miraculous process only works well on one condition: that you've moved your body enough during the day. After age 60, the body's natural rhythm doesn't function as automatically as it once did. Melatonin, the hormone responsible for triggering sleep, becomes more sensitive to external cues and physical activity. If you haven't walked or moved enough during the day, your brain receives the signal: "I didn't get tired today, so there's no reason to sleep tonight." This is where walking becomes a powerful tool for sleep. Regular physical activity not only boosts melatonin production, it also prepares the body for a natural state of rest as evening approaches. Your muscles relax after being used. Your mind finds peace through engagement with the outside world. And when night falls, the brain feels safe to surrender to rest. But when walking is absent, this cycle is disrupted. It takes longer to fall asleep. You wake up more frequently during the night. Deep sleep becomes harder to achieve. REM sleep, the phase tied to memory and emotional processing, gets shorter. And even if you technically slept, you wake up feeling groggy, unfocused, and tired. This sets off a harmful cycle. Inactivity, poor sleep, mental fatigue, less motivation, more inactivity. And the more this loop continues, the more both the body and mind become trapped in exhaustion. Scientific studies confirm this pattern. Older adults who walk regularly experience fewer nighttime awakenings, easier transitions into deep sleep, less mental fog in the morning. In other words, walking doesn't just tone your muscles, it tunes your sleep rhythm. REM sleep is especially critical. This is when the brain processes emotions, strengthens memory, and integrates learning. Without enough REM sleep, memory weakens, emotional reactions intensify, learning becomes difficult. The brain can't repair itself, and daily physical activity is one of the strongest supports for healthy REM cycles. Lack of walking also leaves the nervous system in a restless state. Unspent energy remains bottled up in the body, causing physical tension that disrupts your ability to fall and stay asleep. So what's the solution? Just 20 minutes of walking a day can significantly improve sleep quality. Try walking in the late afternoon or early evening for a natural wind-down effect. Outdoor walks, especially in sunlight, stimulate your retina and help regulate melatonin. Gentle stretching after your walk helps release built-up tension in the muscles. Sleep is the brain's nightly repair cycle. And to start that cycle, your brain looks for a sign. The day is done. It's time to rest. Walking sends that signal louder than anything else. Have you been waking up feeling tired, even after a full night in bed? Is your sleep light fragmented or unsatisfying? Maybe the quiet cause of your restless nights is a lack of walking. Join us in the comments. Have you noticed changes in your sleep since you started or stopped walking? If this video brought you insight, give it a like to help others find it. And subscribe to continue exploring both mental and physical wellness with us. Because a restful night isn't just the end of a day, it's the reward of movement. 5. Learning capacity declines. New information has no place in the brain. Growing older does not mean giving up on learning. In fact, after age 60, every new piece of information doesn't just nourish the mind. It also refreshes self-esteem, confidence, and connection to life itself. But for this process to unfold in a healthy way, the brain must stay open to novelty, flexible, and responsive to stimulation. And this is where walking plays a crucial role, not only moving the body, but activating neurons. Walking stimulates the release of a special brain protein called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. This vital substance helps regenerate brain cells and build new synaptic connections. In other words, the ability to learn new things, store information, and recall it later is directly linked to this one factor. But inactivity decreases its production. As a result, newly learned information quickly fades. Problem-solving ability weakens. The brain struggles to form new connections. Thought processes become less flexible, and this affects not just education but daily life. Using a new phone, making a video call with your grandchild, accessing your bank app, all of it requires a mind that remains open to the new. But a brain that doesn't walk starts choosing protection over participation. And slowly, mental agility gives way to a kind of cognitive stagnation. There's a powerful story that shows this clearly. Walter, 69, is a retired technical draftsman. In the first years of retirement, he was quite social. But over time, he stopped walking. He began waking up late, spending his days watching TV, barely moving around the house. His grandchildren gave him a new smartphone, but he struggled terribly to learn it. He often pressed the wrong buttons, got lost in settings, and even panicked while trying to make calls. But the real problem wasn't just the technology. He had developed a silent resistance to learning. Any attempt to take in something new left him fatigued and frustrated, unable to focus, quick to give up. His family grew concerned. A neurological exam showed no structural issues, but when his doctor asked about his daily activity level, everything became clear. Your brain wants to learn, the doctor said, but your body isn't supporting it. Walter followed his doctor's advice and began taking morning walks. The first few days were difficult, but after 2 weeks, he felt both physically and mentally brighter. One morning, he asked his grandson to teach him a video editing app, and he succeeded. "My brain feels more open now," he said. This example speaks volumes. Walking doesn't just circulate blood. It circulates knowledge within the brain. Struggling to learn something new isn't always about age. Often it's a communication issue caused by inactivity. So what's the solution? A daily 20-minute walk boosts BDNF levels. Listening to something educational while walking, like a podcast or audiobook, doubles the stimulation. Brisk outdoor walking activates the brain's learning centers. Studies show a 40% increase in information retention among older adults who walk regularly. Remember, learning is not a skill reserved for youth, but keeping that skill alive depends on movement. With every step, your brain builds new pathways, and those connections keep you tied to life, people, and possibility. Walking. Maybe it used to be a routine you did without thinking when you were young. But now we know that as we age, every step becomes a decision, a form of resistance, and sometimes even a life-saving medicine. What we talked about in this video wasn't just technical information about the brain. These were the parts of yourself you unknowingly give up when you choose not to walk every day. When your brain doesn't receive enough oxygen, your thoughts become blurry. As mental clarity fades, making decisions becomes harder. Your mood becomes unstable, and something inside you starts to feel missing. You can't sleep, can't rest, and wake up tired in the morning. And new information can't find a place in your mind because the doors remain closed. But here's the best part. It's possible to reverse this process. You don't have to lose your brain as you age. Mental clarity, emotional balance, and the ability to learn. All of these can still be with you. As long as you decide to take that step again. The first step can be small. Maybe just inside the house. Maybe just 5 minutes. But remember, every step is a declaration to your brain that says, I'm still here. And please, if you saw a part of yourself in this video, know that you are not alone. This channel is full of people who feel, think, and search just like you. Share your thoughts with us in the comments. How did you start walking again? What has walking added to your life, or what has it taken away? One comment might help someone else stand up again. By liking the video, you can help this information reach more people. And by subscribing, you can continue walking this journey with us. Because sometimes the only thing we need to save our mind is to take a few steps.